Imagine living in the heart of the Roman Empire, a world of power, law, and fear. In this empire, justice was not always fair, sometimes it was horrifying. People's lives were in the hands of emperors, magistrates, or even ordinary citizens. Today, we will explore some of the most terrifying punishments ever imposed in ancient Rome, punishments that would make anyone shiver. Part 1, the Tartarum, endless dark prison. One of the cruelest punishments was imprisonment in deep underground dungeons. These were dark, cold, and damp chambers, where prisoners were left alone for weeks or even months. No sunlight entered, only a faint sliver of light from a small crack. Imagine the silence, broken only by your own heartbeat. Some starved, some went insane, and some simply vanished into madness. Part 2, the breaking wheel. The breaking wheel was a horrifying punishment for serious criminals. Victims were tied to a large wooden wheel, and their limbs were slowly broken, first the arms, then legs, sometimes the spine. These punishments often took place in public squares, as a warning to all. Crowds gathered to watch, blood stained the stone streets, and screams filled the air. Part 3, crucifixion. Perhaps the most infamous Roman punishment was crucifixion. Hands and feet were nailed or tied to a wooden cross. Victims hung for hours or even days, dying slowly from dehydration, pain, and exposure. Crucifixion was both execution and public humiliation. People gathered to watch, listening to the agonizing cries. Even before death, the victims suffered, tormented by thirst, heat, and fear. Part 4, Pena Culiae, the sack of punishment for those guilty of parricide, killing their own parents. Romans had a punishment so strange it seems unreal, Pena Culiae. The criminal was sewn into a large sack, sometimes with a dog, a rooster, a monkey, and a snake. Then the sack was thrown into a river or pond. The terror of uncertainty and struggle made it one of the most horrifying ways to die. Part 5, Damnatio ad bestias. Sentenced to beasts. Romans also punished criminals by throwing them to wild animals in arenas like the Colosseum. Lions, bears, and leopards attacked the condemned, fighting for their lives. Spectators cheered for blood, turning punishment into a gruesome spectacle. Imagine standing in the arena, the ground shakes as the lion approaches, the crowd roars, and your fate is sealed. Part 6, flogging and public humiliation. Even less extreme punishments were terrifying. Public flogging left victims beaten and humiliated. People were paraded through streets in chains, often naked or barely clothed. The Romans believed fear and humiliation were powerful tools to enforce obedience. Part 7, streets filled with terror. The streets of Rome were filled with shadows, cries, and torchlight. Every act of punishment was a lesson. Power and law were intertwined with cruelty, creating a society both magnificent and horrifying. Part 8, the Empire's dark legacy. These brutal punishments show the extremes of human cruelty. They remind us that power, when unchecked, can be terrifying. From prisons to arenas, from public flogging to crucifixion, the Roman Empire displayed a wide range of punishments designed to control, intimidate, and punish. Part 9, reflection on humanity. Even now, these punishments shock us. They reflect the fragility of life and justice in ancient societies. History teaches that fear was often the tool of rulers, and cruelty a lesson to the public. Yet, by studying these dark moments, we understand more about humanity, morality, and the consequences of power. Part 10, closing thought. The Roman Empire was a place of glory and horror. Power, law, and punishment coexisted in terrifying ways. These stories remind us of the past's dark realities, and warn us to cherish justice, compassion, and the progress we have made. History may be long gone, but the lessons remain.